Hey, gorgeous Leo family, and welcome to our June 2021 reading. This month is all about the self-honesty, the honesty from within. And I probably said that for May's readings as well, because I feel like it's been a theme. And I know that we talked about last month for May, going off of the script of what we're supposed to want. And I think this month, this June, is kind of an extension of that. Like we're gonna go into that a little bit more for Leos and kind of think about who are you beyond also your routines, your containers, kind of the things you relate to as like me, like for me, I feel like things that I relate to, I'm very auditorily sensitive and I love coffee, but I also tend to have some anxious thoughts. But I realized like, who would I be when I'm talking about myself? I wasn't listing those things right up front, right? Who am I? And just for me, for my own, not for other people, not to explain myself to other people, just for me, like who am I beyond those containers? What am I? And like this very philosophical, free-floating questioning. But I think there's so much liberation there because we so often want to identify with these little containers, these little things, and those aren't like who we are, right? Our anxiety, our sensitivity isn't just who we are. There's so much more, right? And so this month's really interesting. We have Venus or Mercury retrograde moving through Gemini. We have the second of two eclipses in Gemini as well, solar eclipse in Gemini on the 10th. And you better believe we'll be going over that both here and on my Patreon. We have Jupiter and Neptune who are in Pisces beginning their retrogrades. And we have moving through Gemini season into Cancer season. And so as the energy starts to move into Cancer this month, we're going to be starting to do work with the hidden and the internal and the spiritual energetic landscape that you're working with, Leo. We're starting to get into preparation phase for Leo season by the end of June. When we hit the solstice, when we hit the end of Mercury retrograde, and as the sun moves into Cancer, we're going to start to be doing some really deep diving. I'm excited for that personally. And we're going to start to really accept who we are, who each of us is, as we are now. Not as a self-improvement project, not as a series of containers, labels, goals, but as we are now. And I love this. I love this so much. Also, I want to mention by the end of this month, Venus is going to be in Leo, baby. So Mars and Venus are both entering Leo this month in June. We're starting to get these infusions of Leonine energy. And what is Leonine energy? What is it truly? Of course, we have the archetype of the leader, the ruler. We have the archetype of the inner playful child. Isn't that so interesting that those two are together? I think that's really interesting. Leo energy is about deep self-respect, right? Trusting ourselves enough to let the inner child play and respecting ourselves enough to be our own inner leader. I mean, it's really like the perfect combo of inner family systems at work here. But that means we've got to just love what is here now within us, with us. Here, I'm going to start shuffling cards. I'm in a mood today. I'm just like ready to say some things that I feel are true and powerful. So I love art, like doing art, drawing watercolor, all of that. And I normally don't do portraits, but I decided for some reason the last few weeks to start doing self-portraits. Like do a self-portrait of me and just like really spend time with my face, which is like weirdly intimidating because when you do a self-portrait, you're looking at yourself in ways that you don't look at yourself unless you're trying to draw yourself. And, you know, when you start with drawing, you know, you're getting all the dimensions correct and getting kind of just like the general placement of the features correct. And the face starts off, at least the way that I was doing it, strength, as kind of a generic face. I mean, it's kind of you, but it could also be like thousands of other people, until you start adding in, like for me, I just have big old eyes. And so for me, like, you really can see that, just the way like my mouth sits and where I have little wrinkles. And it was such a good exercise. If you're somebody who like draws or does art, enjoys that, I'm so recommending just sitting and doing a self-portrait. The devil. Because I got much more intimate with me, you know, like I realized like all these little things, these little aspects of my face are so, cards falling here. 10 of Wands. I realized all these aspects of my face were really powerful, really beautiful. 9 of Swords. Okay, we have the, I gotta pull one more card. We were not leaving it there. 2 more cards. Oh, we are on an odyssey here. 7 of Swords, or 7 of Wands and 4 of Cups. Okay. Yeah, I just accepted me now in a way that felt so good. And I kind of understood now, like, why people love to do self-portraits. There's an intimacy with yourself and a love that you develop that's really, really cool, but it is very vulnerable. And it shows you aspects of yourself that you never respected before. I think my point being there, my little tangent before we get into these cards, is that, like, there's a lot of power in just really seeing ourselves for ourselves beyond the labels, beyond how we label ourselves as far as the goals we have, as far as the detractions we have, all of that stuff. There's like something more ethereal, ineffable. You can't just like tie it down. It's an energy, it's a presence that each of us has. And that's where you're going to get, especially as we get more into Cancer season this month, you're going to get drawn to more and more and more. Like, what does your essence feel like? What does your essence exude? Like, who are you beyond all these containers and these little agitated cultural settings, you know? Like, so here we go. Like, this is such an interesting reading, because we start off with the Leo card, strength. You know, that inner self-worth, that centering. You know, I think about like divine essence. This is like the essence of us is like both a divine being and like an animal in a body experiencing this life. And, you know, the ability to be present in both of those states and to be centered in it and to embrace all aspects of ourselves, also to handle ourselves with care and respect and love. Right? Mind, body, spirit all working together with self-respect and a centeredness. It was really powerful. There's a face-off going on here with these cards between all that stuff we've been working on since May. The containers, the ideas, the identities, the markers. This is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to love. This is how it's going to feel. This is what I'm really into. All of that. Like, if there's one thing that the devil, I think, connects with, it's containers. Containers that no longer fit us and we're chained to. It's stasis. It's staying the same. It's not being able to recalibrate or move. It's being chained to an identity that just does not serve us anymore. If you look at these 2 cards, I mean, it's night and day, literally. And, you know, the devil can be really positive. It can be about determination, passion, focus. But it does have a strong shadow side, which is where we get trapped into thinking we have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. We believe our repetitive thoughts, and that's the showdown. If you look at these three cards together, this is about repetitive thoughts. This is about the voice that says, well, you can't get away with that. You're not allowed to do that. You're not worth it. Oh, you want to live in peace and you want to like trust yourself more? Well, that's probably not going to work out. You know, it's the inner cynic just going around and around and around and around and around, saying and telling you the lie that you have to keep holding all of this, that you have to keep being chained up, that you have to keep carrying around the heavy load, that you have to keep staying up at night stressed with all these swords hanging over your head. And what I've noticed when we are changing shape, we're leaving behind traumas, old teachings, we're going toward more of our true self, that voice, that ego, that worry, that stressor, that conscious mind voice gets loud. It gets loud. It does not want to burn out quietly. That's why we have vulnerability hangovers when we're just being ourselves. That's why we often feel like worn out when we have just laid ourselves bare to the world and we're just starting doing that process, or when we are just growing into our next part of life. That voice wants to come in and say, oh, no, you're not supposed to do it that way. But it's not telling the truth. The truth is this. So this showdown is something that's very intimate to you. It's not about somebody not loving you back or things going to crap or there being chaos. It's not about anything other than how you're feeling about yourself. And yeah, you know, we are going through a big calibration time. Eclipse season's a reset. Mercury retrograde's a reset. As we go through and into Cancer season, this is deeply spiritual energy for Leos. And as we get into Jupiter and Neptune retrograde, deeply spiritual energy, transformational energy is at play here. It's so interesting, you know, I'm trying to pull relaxing cards for the end of this read. I was like, I need to like close out this Nine of Swords somehow. And we get the Seven of Wands and the Four of Cups. Seven of Wands makes me think of like a right? You're battling. It's the card of higher ground, as it's often nicknamed, where this guy is holding his own in the competitive field, right? He's on the higher ground. Everybody else is trying to get at him, but he's up there and he's going to beat back the competition. Don't think that's like the necessarily greatest mindset to address things, but here's what I will say. You will prevail. You can have all this running around. It does not get to determine who you are. This is just fluff. And you know it. This all here, all these four cards in the middle for me, it's like you get to decide how much you want that to be like the center point of your June, I think. Four of Cups for me is a card of peace and rest. And here's the deal. I think the message when I look at these two cards, because for me, this is about finding a center point and letting the answers come to you, getting out of your own way to let the answers come to you. I think what June is going to be about. Take a breath. Come back to your essence. Love on yourself impeccably. Do not let those voices get you. Write them down. See them for what they are. let them be what they are, and know that you are getting primed for a really, really, really great era. This is a potent transformational time. And like I said, when we are dipping our toes into more empowered, clearer, better boundaried, better self-expressiveness, better appreciation for peace and quiet, that is when we notice that those voices, they're kind of coming up and making some noise, rummaging around, being a bit of a poltergeist. And that is such a natural part of growing. It doesn't detract from your value or your joy this month whatsoever. Like, the prevailing message here is you are meant to be in peace and getting prepped for some coming big infusions of love and change in your life. And so often we have to go to the basement, we have to go to the midnight garden, do some pruning, do some decobwebbing, do some mulching so that we are ready, so that our root systems are strong for the bigness and boldness that is coming next. And that is what I'm seeing here. I think the practice of coming into such deep self-respect for what you create in the world, for who you are in the world, for how you hold yourself, it necessarily shakes up anything, any voice, any old trauma, any old way of seeing yourself, because it doesn't fit, like, it doesn't go. And so this is potent. This is just like, I did not come into Leo's reading expecting to like go to this place, but here we are. Here we are. Yeah, this is a really powerful time, and one that and there's also this full moon in Capricorn I didn't even mention, that is just also very transformational. I'm going to be offering all that support on Patreon if you're looking for guidance when it comes to all the June energy. I'm excited to see what this brings for Leos, because I think a healthy Leo is a healthier world overall. It's a more creative, fun, playful, expressive place. And it allows more of that childlike, innocent joy into the world, and we need that. So take really good care of yourselves. Don't let this reading intimidate you either. I think, like I said, these voices aren't in charge of you. They're not the boss of you. So if you are somebody who's releasing some stuff and preparing and opening the way for like a really great season of life ahead, like, don't get discouraged at all. This is really great energy. I think you're going to actually have a beautiful month, because don't forget, Mars and Venus are moving into Leo, baby. We are doing this. Really powerful stuff. So I would love to see you. We're going to be doing more fun things in the coming weeks on Patreon, on this channel, and you can find me on Instagram and on my website. You can also find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her Etsy shop. So I will see my Leo family very soon. I love you guys. Be you. It's going to be amazing.